The Toyota Corolla Hybrid is about as spicy as boiled broccoli, yet it's one of my favorite commuters. That's because it's simple, extremely efficient, and affordable. So, can it defend its crown against the new Honda Civic Hybrid, or is it cooked? There's no denying that the new Civic has more going for it, but it also asks for more money. Much more. $5,000 US to be exact. It's competing against larger cars for that kind of cash. And if you kind of enjoy fun, detailed car content, consider subscribing and hitting the notification bell. Thank you. I'd also like to thank the friendly folks at Royal South Toyota in Bloomington, Indiana for letting me test drive a couple of cars for this video. If you're in the market for a new or used ride, check them out. At least the Honda comes with standard equipment like alloy wheels, proximity entry, and blind spot monitoring, but the Corolla offers those in packages. In fact, you can get a fully loaded XLE with more features for less than the cheapest hybrid Honda. I do think the Civic has a more cohesive design. It's sharp and understated. I think it'll age well, whereas the Corolla pairs a more generic compact car body with angry eyes and a drooping mouth, like it's an American who just found out how expensive their knee surgery is gonna be. I do think the SE bumps up the curb appeal, but it also hurts the efficiency. Let me know your thoughts. On the outside, I do think the Honda looks more expensive than the Toyota. And on the inside, the Civic nearly has the perfect small car cabin. I like how straightforward it is, and I have an even stronger appreciation for its tactile controls and sturdy panel construction. Materials are pretty typical. It's mostly hard-touch plastics, but the design hides the budget well. There's also plenty of storage and a good amount of space. At 6'3", I can fit behind myself with a little bit of rubbing. And the trunk is huge, especially with the hatchback. But I do find it frustrating that even if you spend this much money, you still get the cheapest infotainment that Honda has to offer. The new Google built-in setup with a high resolution and wireless CarPlay Android Auto is on the Sport Touring. That $33,000 trim also adds a far superior Bose sound system with more punch than what you'll find in any Corolla, along with a full digital gauge cluster. Here we have a smaller multifunction display paired up with a cool, kind of nostalgic speedometer. Less cool is the 7-inch screen that feels like it could have come off of a scan tool from 2010. Credit where credit's due, the response time is quicker than the Toyota, so I can live with it. Another thing you'll need to learn to tolerate are these seats. The seat back is well shaped, but the seat bottoms have a form to them that disciplines tailbones. Meanwhile, the Corolla has more agreeable seats. They're still unremarkable when it comes to bolstering or support, and there's no lumbar adjustment either, but I don't ache after long drives. The Corolla is also simple. The controls are clear and well laid out. The infotainment is basic too, but more aesthetically pleasing than what's in the Honda. And it has wireless CarPlay and Android Auto. Like the Civic, the options list isn't long. You can get heated seats, a leather-wrapped wheel, or faux leather upholstery, but you're not going to get pampered like you would be with a Camry. You can even get the Corolla Hybrid without push-button start, which is not a huge deal, but it's an odd sensation to turn the key without the noise of a starter. The Corolla is the cheapest Toyota, and it feels as such. No matter the trim, you have toy-grade materials, a plain design, and less tactile buttons than the Honda. Panel fitment is fine, but again, you'll need its big brother if you want more than a basic experience. You will also need a Camry if you want to comfortably seat tall friends or giant car seats in the back, though the space isn't too far behind what you'll get with the Civic. There's a similar story for the trunk. It's not as large as what you'll get with a sedan Honda, though neither hybrids will get a spare tire. Of course, the real reason why you buy an electrified Corolla is the efficiency. I had one for a week, and in mixed driving, I got 55 miles per gallon. Even with the less efficient SE with all-wheel drive, I was getting mid-40s on the highway. That's an impressive feat for a hybrid, but what's less shocking is the performance. You have 138 horsepower that will get you to 60 in about 9 seconds. This raw speed comes from a 1.8 liter inline-4 paired up with your choice of 1 or 2 electric motors. The second motor sits at the rear and comes only with the all-wheel drive models. It actually packs 40 horsepower, so it should definitely make a difference in snowy climates without really costing you much at the pump, and that's something that you will not see on any Civic. Thankfully, acceleration, it's still adequate. Yeah, picking up speed quickly on the highway might have the Toyota a little stressed out, but around town and merging up to speed, it's not really as labored as the numbers would suggest. The Corolla, especially in LE form, is a soft riding vehicle. Over a bad road, this means that small imperfections barely make themselves known, and potholes are tamed reasonably well. Each hybrid Corolla will come with independent rear suspension, helping this feel pretty well in control. While not really having a whole lot of fun driving the Corolla, it is very easy. So you have light steering that's precise. It is numb, and the weight of the wheel hardly builds up as it goes through corners, but it does give me at least a good sense of direction. And the turning circle of this is actually pretty good too. Body roll is present but under control here. And if you want it to be a little bit more tidy, you can get the SE. This is giving me confidence, but the goal here was not entertainment. I think the biggest nuisance that I have driving the Corolla Hybrid is the engine noise. This is due to an eCVT. It uses an electric motor to get the engine to whatever RPM is ideal for that situation. And since there's not really a whole lot of power to work with, the RPM will dance around quite a bit under acceleration. Though because this doesn't share anything in common with a traditional CVT, you don't have other downsides. For instance, this gives you much more direct response because of the electric torque. It feels more natural at low speeds, and this design is extremely reliable. The hybrid Civic punches above its class in not only performance, but power delivery. This is effortless compared to the Toyota. With the Corolla, the engine and motors work alongside one another under most acceleration. In the Honda, when you're trying to pick up speed, the engine is just a generator. It's the electric motor that's actually getting this power to the ground. This system will only let the engine directly drive the front wheels via a lockup clutch when at cruising speed to help with efficiency. The end result is a car that feels much more like an electric vehicle than the Corolla. Plus, with 62 more ponies, it's definitively quicker too. 0 to 60 comes up in just 6.3 seconds. Combine that with a quicker response, and it just feels more spry and relaxed. The engine is much less buzzy, and it even uses the drive motor along with the RPM of the engine to simulate gear changes. And it does a convincing job. This sounds much more refined than the Corolla, and it also just feels less like an appliance. Because the electric motor is usually the one motivating the car, this is very efficient in the city. It can even clear 50 miles per gallon, but the highway mileage is far inferior when compared to the Corolla. When I was easy on the thing, keeping the speed between 65 and 70 miles per hour, over the course of 300 miles, I averaged 39 miles per gallon. When I was going 75, that number was more like 35. At least for long hauls, it is quieter than the Corolla. Both of them are going to have adaptive cruise and lane centering that work fairly well. I think the Toyota might have an advantage there with the system's refinement. And the Toyota's suspension offers a little more forgiveness. Over the same dismal pavement, the Civic is still compliant, and it feels more poised, but at the same time it doesn't shelter you as much. You're gonna feel more of the road. Potholes and larger breaks in the pavement make themselves known. Still, for most people in most scenarios, it should be forgiving enough, and I think it compensates by feeling more on its toes. The front end is a little bit sharper, as you're going through corners, the steering weight builds up better. Combine that with the more instantaneous throttle response, and you have a car that, dare I say, feels engaging. Even the body roll is reduced slightly. If you're buying a new hybrid because you want a simple, comfy car with low running costs, the Corolla demolishes the Civic. However, if you enjoy driving and you don't have a dedicated fun car for the weekend, then the Honda is absolutely worth the extra cash. It's kind of fun to drive, it's practical, it's peppy, it's comfortable enough, and it has a stronger sense of quality. But now that I think about it, this is really starting to remind me of another Toyota. We can't ignore the Prius. This demands similar money to the Honda, and I think it avenges the Corolla hybrid. It utilizes the latest motors and engine in the Toyota arsenal. It'll put out up to 196 horsepower, meaning you're going to lose the drag race if you challenge a Honda Civic hybrid, and it's also not quite as responsive as that car either. But the Prius does make substantial improvements over its little brother. Merging is no problem for this thing, and it just all around feels more relaxed. The engine, while still buzzy, doesn't have to do quite as much gymnastics, and it still gets knockout fuel economy. I mean, even better than the Corolla. It can do that with front or all-wheel drive too. And the suspension of the Prius offers a little more forgiveness than the Honda. Smaller imperfections are dealt with quickly. Even larger potholes with these 19-inch wheels don't faze this all too much. It might not insulate you quite as well as the Camry, but I think it's more forgiving than the Civic and Corolla. It should work on underfunded city streets and twisty back roads. The steering is just as precise as it is in the Civic, and honestly, I think it might even be quicker reacting as well. Body roll is similar to the Honda. I prefer how the Civic steering builds up in weight. The Prius has more heft behind the wheel if that's what you like, and it still offers hints of feedback. Like the Honda, this is happy to dance around, and unfortunately, like the Corolla, this is a little noisy. I'd say the Civic Hybrid with its active noise cancellation is a little bit quieter. At least the Prius does benefit from one of the most reliable powertrain designs in the business. Toyota's hybrids have very few common issues. It's too soon to make any conclusions on the Prius, but this generation of Corolla has been highly trustworthy so far, and while time will tell more about the new Civic, I also feel comfortable recommending the Honda to people that prioritize longevity, though the new model has had a few recalls. The most widespread problem of sticky steering was recently fixed by one of them. Some of the character of the Prius comes from its wedge design and sloping roof, but there are some drawbacks to that. The Civic hatch is going to have a larger cargo area. The back seats are at least on par with the Civic, but the visibility is not. The dashboard of the Prius is super long and the seat pillars are thick. The controls don't give me the same level of feedback either, but there are also many advantages. Like one, the seats are softer and offer a little more support, especially for my legs. While you will spend more money, you can get more features here. You still have physical buttons for your climate control. You have the same infotainment as the Corolla, but you can also opt for a 12-inch screen, and storage is also increased over the Corolla. You can decide whether or not you like the style, but there's no denying that the Corolla and Civic are more drab than the Prius inside and out. I think the new Civic Hybrid is an excellent all-around compact if you can afford it. Outside of slightly underwhelming highway MPGs, it has the best powertrain you can buy in a compact. I even prefer it to the 2.5-liter turbo Mazda 3. If you're looking for the answer of what is the best small car in a broad sense, the Honda is probably going to win. But the moment you start prioritizing money and efficiency over athleticism, there's a better option. If you're ready to sacrifice some versatility in the name of comfort, there's another car that's better. If you can do without engaging steering, you can get a superior cruiser for the same money instead. But if we're ignoring the mid-size class today, the comfortable yet engaging and extremely efficient Prius is my personal choice. Thanks for watching. And thank you to my channel members for helping me improve my videos. Consider joining for additional content. I'll catch you in the next one.